Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of Stat Check. This is Balance Data Slate. I wish I'd gone with Balance Hate Slate, but this will do. Honestly, way better option that came to me after I'd submitted the name.
Think
But you know,
we can change
idea
the
across.
name.
No,
We can
we
change
can't.
the name to Balance Hate Slate.
It's in the title. It's locked in. That's what it is.
Fine.
We are. I am Innes, and this is Nathan, and we are short and Anthony this week, who is going to be joining us at some point in the near future. He unfortunately had a work thing at 15:15 leaving, so we will hopefully have him on shortly, but who knows?
Don't worry.
It's Turbo, he's just not that fast.
Don't worry, V8's in the crowd. I already see Chris, who's like the founding member of the V8s. Your Turbo will be here soon.
The what?
I'm gonna call them the V8s. That's Anthony's like groupie team, based on what I've seen in our Discord chat. Yeah.
I don't like it.
Unlike Innes, I am Nathan, and I'm not a we. I'm just a singular. And this is Stat Check of a poorly organized variety.
I am a collective. I am all. So yeah, this is Stat Check. This is episode 16. We are going to be talking about the Warhammer thing, and probably also some stuff that's happened this week, including a thing that happened a couple of days after our last show, that some people might have not noticed. It washed us by with such thunderous blare.
It was very whelming. There's a lot of whelm.
I would describe myself as, yeah, I wouldn't even say I was underwhelmed or overwhelmed or even whelmed particularly. It was just kind of like there was no whelming of any kind. There was only the balanced data slate. And it's okay. The next one's only 3 months away.
Man, I asked for the data slate so that something would like churn up, so like the meta would change or something, or like shake even slightly, and instead they gave us like the slightest vibration of the meta possible.
I asked for the balanced data slate so I could enjoy 40k and pick an army, and well, neither of those have changed. So, anyway, yeah, I did a show with the Honest Wargamer last week on Thursday, the day the balanced data slate dropped. If you want to hear my raw and unfiltered thoughts on the balanced data slate, you could check that out. It should be from last Thursday, which was the 21st-ish. That sounds right.
Sometime 7
20th.
days ago.
Yeah, if you go check out the Honest Wargamer episode for the 20th, you should find me talking with Tom and John about my thoughts on the balanced data slate and how much I hate it. But yeah, was that's it. How's your week been, Nathan? You done any Warhammer?
I did play some Warhammer. I played a Tyranid mirror match over the weekend to try the new Kraken pressure list because Leviathan isn't quite as good as it used to be, but it's still very good. So I decided to try how much Spore Mine makes me Spore Mine very happily. And if you play the Tyranid mirror with a tuned Kraken GT list into kind of a monster mishmash of Kraken stuff, you tend to just clog everything up and then nothing happens and then you win. So that was what
happening and then I win is a really good way to be Arivore. So
it is true.
Maybe that's the future of competitive Tyranids.
And then I spent most of Sunday building Lehman Russes. So now I have a lot of Lehman Russes that need their tracks put on them.
A lot of Lehman Russes that are going to be completely gotten rid of in place of the Rogaldorn.
I think the Rogaldorn might just be too big to play properly.
Anything that gets rid of Space Wolf Association in War 40k is good for me. So I would like the Lehman Russ to be completely phased out of competitive play and it to just all be Rogaldorn for the future.
Look, if we're going to get rid of just middle ruins so that I can move the Rogaldorn around the
table. No. But just look, if getting rid of middle ruins is what I need to get rid of Space Wolves in 40k, like I would consider that.
Man, it's funny because everybody says I hate power armor when really it's Innes who hates power armor and everything associated with it. That's also
guys.
True.
If every time you ask for Anthony, he stays away another 30 seconds. Like I don't know what to say. He's just spiteful like that.
He will be here eventually. Not necessarily in the Games Workshop way of saying soon, but kind of close to the Games Workshop version.
We promised an Anthony today, probably, and if not, well, there's always next week.
How about you, Ennis? How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun?
Yeah, I had a fairly normal weekend. I had my first weekend off from like work or 40K since April, which
Oh
is
shit!
a while. Uh, yeah, I went back through the weekends and I was like, so there's 2 weekends here that I didn't work a Saturday shift or go to an RTT or GT, and I did practice days for WTC those weekends, so that doesn't count. Uh, and it was like throwing back and I'm like, 15th of April. Right. It's been a
Wow,
while. Uh, yeah, no, it was
been a hot
kind of a
second.
yeah. I should maybe ease off just a little bit. And then I was just like, okay, so let's plan all the events I can go to. So I like applied for like I chucked myself on the reserve list for a tournament, signed up for another RTT. Like, can't be risking this. I need to play more Warhammer. I might have a
Well,
weekend to reflect on my life. Uh,
then you got signed up for for a GT in the
we'll
United
get to that.
States.
I'll you gonna just drop that one straight up.
Yeah, I just kind of want
Fair
to go
enough.
straight to the meat of the joke, which is that Innis is being brought to the United States for a GT in New Jersey.
Against something along the lines of will and better judgment. Anthony and my teammate Brian decided to purchase me flights to the United States and just tell me about 10 to 5 on my birthday, which was on today or yesterday. Sorry, Jesus, it's been a weird week. And we were like, yeah, so you're coming to the States, and I'm like, well, I guess I better submit a holiday form.
I just love the fact that you're coming to New Jersey of all places in
Yeah,
the
so
US.
for context, everybody, I've not left Europe before, other than potentially I might have been in the Asian half of Turkey, but I'm not verifying that so that I can continue to say the true statement. This other thing's interesting. I've not left Europe before. My first experience is going to be 4-ish days in New Jersey in December, and then I'm going to fly back, and then I'm going to fly back out 6 weeks later to go to Vegas. And I don't know if what travel whiplash is like, but I imagine it's something along the lines of whatever that schedule is.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough, buddy. I
Yeah,
won't lie.
so I'm going to. I don't even know what the event is called. Something Krampus at Mythicos in New
It's
Jersey in
it's
December.
yeah, it's in Mawa, New Jersey, and it's at Mythicos, and it's like Crumpmas or something like that.
I don't know.
We'll
I'm gonna be
figure it
there.
out and we'll put it
I'm
in
flying
chat
across
in
the
a
ocean
little
for like a
bit.
40-person GT. Uh, like I don't travel Scotland for those at this point in my career.
It's the best. The best part of this is that the most travel is being taken, and the first time leaving Europe is going to the Garden State, the
Yeah.
best state.
So
No,
yeah, that
none
was
of
my
those
week. I
things are
also
true.
built a Lego set, which was really cool and the only good thing to ever come out of Scandinavia. Um,
Which Lego set was it though?
the Death Star Trench Run set, which is a really cool diorama that I got from my sister for my birthday. Other than that, yeah, not that much. I didn't do much 40K. I have been building and painting Tyranids because I'm not going to say enthusiastic for them after the Battles this late, but I am trying out a Kraken list at GT this weekend. I built and started painting 15 metal Raveners because I hate myself apparently. Yeah, so I dug into my pile of whatever the opposite of actually no whatever the most possible collection of shame that you could possibly imagine is, and just pulled out the 15 metal Raveners that I've had sitting and waiting for over 2 years. I was like, well, I guess I play this list now. So I whacked that out, got that on the painting table, found 15 Devourers to give them. So yeah, those are
They're gonna have Devourers?
not Devourers, Death Spitters. Like I
I was
put
gonna
like you know how the regular Ravener has like thoracic Death Spitters? Yeah, my models
Yeah.
don't have those because they're metal ones. So they've got just like warrior Death Spitters. They look so weird as Raveners.
Those
Um,
Raveners are both great looking and terrifying looking at the same
they
time
are.
because they look both incredibly silly and not like anything else in the Tyranid line at this point. Like they
Yeah,
just
no.
look a little out of place.
The current goal is to get as much of my army as made out of metal as possible, so that I've got two threats on the table: the threat of violence and the threat of the army. Like I got a squad of Raveners for every opponent in an RTT. I can beat a lot of people up. Uh,
Each opponent just gets one squad of Raveners to throw at them that game. That's it.
yeah, if
The
I
other
can
two
put,
sit
I
off
can
to the
look
side.
like a big hockey sock with one metal tyrant guard in it. is a very powerful, very potent weapon because those things are just a solid, literal rock. And then the Raveners, like glued to a stick, is a very effective mace.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to do it that way. You just grab a Screamer Killer, put it in a sock, is what I hear, or one of the old metal box dreadnoughts. Just put it in a sock and just hit your opponent with
I have
it.
2 metal card effects, like the middle ones.
Not the
I don't
Screamer
know.
Killers like the other
I have a
ones.
weirdly high amount of metal Tyranids for being like 14 years old. It's like, what if I just got all the old metal Biovores and I've got metal Spore Mines just to freak people out? You just
I
move
do
your
love
Spore Mines
those.
to pick it up, it's metal, and they're like, oh, what the hell? I love that. That's my favorite.
They're so short, but they're so great. Like they're my favorites. They are the worst to reassemble though when they do break at their little tiny joint points at the bottom.
Which one's Biovores?
The Spore Mines.
Oh, Spore Mines. Yeah, no. You just if I had Gorilla Glue when I was 12 years old, I might have stuck with 40k a little longer than I did during my like teen years. But Gorilla Glue solves all issues with metal Tyranids. It's fantastic stuff. Anyway, should we move on to the stats because I feel like I'm waffling?
Oh no, it's fine. Oh no, people definitely hate us waffling or waxing
Yeah, no,
philosophical about
people never want to
nonsense.
just listen to us talk. That definitely doesn't sound like a thing.
Definitely not. So I guess we'll talk about the stats. There were 13 events, I believe, this weekend that qualified for 25 plus players, 5+ rounds. It was a lot. It's actually quite the uptick because the last couple of weeks we were like sub 10 events. But this weekend we actually got a lot of data.
Clearly, the balance data slate being on Thursday affected the lists for the weekend. Everybody was just enthusiastic.
Yeah, poor Jeremy was checking lists like right up until basically the show to make sure that you all can select drop-down menu options correctly. So please make sure you submit your lists and factions correctly so that you don't drive Jeremy steadily insane.
I'm submitting everything as Votan, so I'm a significant proportion of all of the tournaments now.
Oh, that's great. So on that note, let's talk about some stuff. So I'm not going to talk about Eldari because there was only one player, but I'm going to talk about them right now. But they have an almost 13 over rep ratio, which I think is really funny because there was one player and they top 4'd an event with an 80% win rate. So Eldari, real good, apparently.
Eldari, real good if you're that guy.
Please don't come at me with numbers and things about low representation factions. I know that's why I said it. Imperial Knights are actually from an over rep standpoint, the best performing faction. They had a 4.9% meta rep this weekend, 55.3% win rate, and then a 1.97 for over rep. So they did quite well. They won one event. They top 4'd 5 events, and they top 10'd 10 events. So almost every event had an Imperial Knights player in their top 10. Tyranids,
pretty good.
Tyranids are actually behind Imperial Knights in over rep this weekend. They made up almost 9% of the meta, 59.9% win rate, and then they won 3 events, top 4'd 9 events, and then top 10 every event basically with 15 top 10s and a 1.95 over rep. So Tyranids still good.
Clearly over nerfed them by nerfing them. Like they weren't even twice as good as they should be.
And then Leagues of Votan actually managed to get up with their over rep this weekend. They only had 7 players, so we're still looking for them to catch up fully, but most events still aren't allowing the full range to be played from what I can tell. So we had 7 players this weekend, so we'll only talk about it a little bit. They had a 56.9% win rate with 1 top 4 and 1 top 10 for a 1.8 overall.
With 4 data sheets and a character.
Yep, 4 data sheets and a character. They might be actually okay, guys. I don't know.
Dead faction, by the way.
Totally dead. It's actually funny because we're going to get to a really dead faction in a minute. Orcs are next. They had a 4.7. They had a 1.62 over rep. They won an event this weekend. They won one of the larger events this weekend.
They won the biggest event. Ben Jurek won SoCal Open with them.
Mm-hmm. Then we got Chaos Space Marines at a 1.49 for over rep and a 52.7% win rate. They also won an event this weekend. We're going to skip Craft World Eldar because I don't really care about them. Harlequins. Yeah, it's also GW's perspective. 62% win rate for Harlequins. No wins, 3 top 4s, 7 top 10s with a 1.36 over 1.35 over rep. So, totally dead. No good. No bueno. Terrible faction. And then Tau, who will probably be coming up later in this conversation because I have thoughts and feelings about something that some group of people who play 40K put out that made me upsetty.
Look, I'm not saying that we're an Art of War reaction channel, but We're
We
not
definitely
that.
we're not that. And we're definitely going to react to anything that they put out that we hate. Tao won 3 events this weekend with a 54.9% win rate. They top 4 3 events and they top 10 8 events with a 1.3 over rep. But they won 3 events, which ties them with Tyranids for event wins this weekend. And one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick, just because we'll probably bring it up later as well, is if I told you, chat, that these are the top 5 factions for Nephilim. One has 25 GT wins, one has 18 GT wins, one has 12, one has 11, and one has 10. What do you think those 5 factions are in order? And I'll give you guys a couple minutes.
This game. I was real close.
Yep. I want to see what chat thinks. Give me your 5 from 25 to 10. And let me know what your top 5 was in order. And we'll come back around to this in just a couple of minutes, just for funsies, and I'll let you know.
Ryan,
at the bottom,
you cannot say buff time in my chat without getting kicked.
At the bottom of the pile, we had from this week Astra Militarum, who had a 37% win rate. Below Adeptus Mechanicus, who didn't even quite hit 10 players despite having been released for a long time. Yes, Samuel Morton in order. Adeptus Mechanicus had a 33.8% win rate. I don't know how. Oh, they both have the same number of top 10s. That's why they're organized this way. Okay, so it's actually Adeptus Mechanicus at the bottom with a 33.8. Then Astra Militarum second to last at a 37.1. Discounting some other nonsense. I don't think
you bang on Imperial Fists in first place. I'm assuming you did 5 4 5 4 3 2 1.
Oh man, I love how many people have put Quinn so high in this and yet are wrong about all of it.
Oh, don't bury, like, come on, man. If you're gonna bury the lead, at least bury it properly.
I did bury it properly.
Well, you clearly not, because you're giving it away while people are still guessing. I don't think you'd understand how these things work.
I didn't want to wait that long to give the answer.
4.5 people have given their answer.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Tyranids in top from 7.
4.5.
It's like 4.2. No, it's 3.2. Oh my gosh. David Hunt, you missed the question. The question is, we have these factions.
What factions have won the most tournaments since Nephilim came out?
What 5 factions in order from first to 5th have won the most GTs?
Yeah, the first place is 25, 5th place is 10.
And we'll circle back to it in a minute after I've gone over some meta dashboard stuff, actually, which makes more sense. And I'll not look at chat. But instead, we're going to look at the summed state of the meta.
Nah, we would never do that. We don't have a monthly article where we do that or anything like that.
Well, so as you can see, the meta is very stable still. Like, it started to go up a little bit with Harlequins. And
I can definitely see all the data in there. You can see so much data. I can't read any of it, Nathan. Like, I don't want to be rude, but this is not like, yeah, man. I can see that generally the top and bottom factions haven't changed, but in that middle bit, I can't tell what's going on, man.
That's fine. We're not really here to see the fine details of what's going on.
There's no details. There isn't details.
We're here to see the overall trend that everything's kind of filled into the middle and is kind of flat. So the meta is stable. Things have kind of shifted up and down like by a percentage point or two, but generally Dragon Soup in the top 5 for GT wins, says somebody, which is not wrong.
Stable does not mean good, folks. It's worth remembering.
No, stable can be good, but stable doesn't mean that it could not be better.
I like the Forces of the Hive Mind have 25 games played, so they get to be at the top of the chart.
Yeah, so they now have 37, and they're at 64% for win rate.
Good for them.
As of October 23rd. Yeah, so we've got this fully up to date just in time for today, so you can thank Cliff for that. He rushed to make sure that this was all finished in time for the show today.
Look at that Imperial Fist win rate climbing. You go, buddy.
I know. One person is trying real hard to make it so that I stop making fun of Imperial Fists.
Why is that? That win rate says 26, but it's sitting comfortably above 31. That's not climbed at all. Why is it at 31 on the chart?
I don't know. It's a good question. Cliff.
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 Fix the
Also,
chart, bro.
like one faction, Adeptus Astartes, just generally, which had a 0% win rate, apparently jumped all the way up here to 40%.
Okay,
with
so
10
that's
games
Marine
played.
Soup specifically. So
Yep.
somebody went 2-5, 2-3 with Marine Soup this weekend.
Yep. Cliff is a
Um,
champ. It's true. But we are looking at a relatively stable meta soon, and I guess we can transition into some data slate talk in just a minute. I will
Let's
reveal the top 5 first so that everybody can. Oh
and
no!
also show our chat. You just showed it. There you go. It was my answer, except slightly different.
I forgot to hit the stop sharing button first. Nathan's real good at technology, is what we're knowing.
At least you were open on that and not something untoward.
Why would it be on something untoward? Our private chats are private, Innes.
I don't know. I don't know what you do on Discord when the cameras aren't watching.
So the number 1 at 25 was Tyranids. Number 2 was Necrons. Number 3 was Chaos Space Marines. Number 4 is Tau. And number 5 is Adeptus Sororitas, or Sisters of Battle.
People having faith in Harlequins. Harlequin players don't convert.
Harlequin players are in 6th place overall. Harlequins have a great win rate, but as Innes just said, Harlequin players can't convert. They're not there to get the big trophy. They're only there to get a maximum win rate.
Harlequin players exist solely to stomp on your face for 4 rounds and then somehow die mid-round 5 at losing the tournament.
Yes.
Like that's all Harlequin players are for. They're like the bad guy arc where the noble hero of every other faction gets to beat one Harlequin player, so the Harlequin player doesn't win a GT and they just maintain their 80% win rate and no nerfs.
It's true. Do we want to?
There's only 3 of them.
Yeah, it's also not untrue. Harlequin's overall meta representation has dropped a lot since the heyday of 9 Void Weavers, which is
and nothing of value was lost.
It's true. Nothing of value was lost during that time frame. Although playing Twilight does make me happy, so I would like that to stay around for a little while longer. Why don't we talk about the data slate? We can probably summarize it in like 5 words of not really anything important or something like that.
5 words, yeah. Fixed Marines, Quinn slower, Necrons.
I like the inferred question mark next to Necrons. My favorite thing actually about the data slate is the number of holes created between the core rulebook, some of the sub-faction special rules, and then how they apply to their factions. So if you look at the data slate, they removed transhuman from Tyranid warriors, but they don't benefit from mini transhuman because mini transhuman only benefits non-synapse creatures. And then if you look at light harlequins, they were like, yeah, so you no longer count as stationary if you advance, but that doesn't really matter because
dude, if you bring up that rule, I'm gonna stab you. I'm coming to America. You don't want to risk this.
Are you saying that I shouldn't poke a hole in how GW writes its data slate? Because it's
look, man, people are trying to argue that the Silent King still gets core because his min heroes don't have character, so they get core.
That's
so
another hole
refusing to acknowledge anything that resembles somebody arguing anything being okay from this data slate. None of you are free from sin. Stop. Get some help.
I just want to use this as evidence for the fact that GW did this in the laziest manner possible. They didn't
GW wrote this on Wednesday. Like, they applied for their 2-week extension from university. They were like, yeah, you get 1, but we're like a liberal arts university. You get as many extensions as you want. And then they were like, hey, have an extension. And they were like, cool, we'll crack that together the night before the new deadline. And then they did. And
I think you're actually giving them too much credit. I think they hastily scribbled this together in the bathroom before class so they could submit it at class. So in the 5 minutes before class, they were hastily scribbling it while in the bathroom.
So I think Mike Brad's the annoying kid who like asks the teacher if there was homework. It's like he published a MetaWatch article so that they had to produce it in 2 weeks. So if I make the video, they'll have to make it.
It's true. But like one of the reasons this is so slapdash is that they left a giant hole in there where somebody is going to argue that light troops still can count as stationary and shoot.
Oh yeah, no, like rules is written, they're technically sure can.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where there's a bunch of raw interactions with how situations work. The rules as intended is very obvious. And if you argue the raw interpretations of this, you are probably going to be lucky if a judge just gives you a yellow card in some situations.
As opposed to giving
But
you a Star Weaver up your bumhole.
yes, which is what Innis's approach is. Like the intention is clear, but GW did it in the laziest way possible, that they left huge gaps. They're going to let people argue things and bully players with interpretations, I think, from Raw.
It's also really weird that Tyranid Warriors don't get like mini transhuman still.
Yeah.
It's so odd. Like,
It's also,
I'm not even like mad about it. It's just really
dumb.
strange.
It's just like GW, if they had thought for like another 5 seconds, could have wrote additional details in there to cover themselves. They could have been like, yeah, Synapse monsters get this, non-Synapse and blank and Tyranid Warriors get blank or whatever.
Yeah, they sure could have.
Or anything without the monster keyword gets mini transhuman. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the day where my adaptive traits become actually adaptive again. Come on, lad. Come on. They're called adaptives. Why are they less adaptive than the Sisters of Battle prayers?
Now I am worried about Turbo.
I am choosing to believe that he is solving IT-based wildfires, and is just far too invested in the work.
I just know that his V8s are crying because their hero isn't here.
You can be their new hero. Step up. You're just as good as him.
That is definitely not true based on the 2 games that I have played against Anthony so far in my life. Gesundheit, Innes. All right. I guess then we can talk about another data slate. A proposed data slate. You don't want to talk about the proposed data slate?
Not without Turbo. Like, if Anthony isn't here to answer for his company's crimes, I'm just kind of not interested in talking about it.
Oh, fine. I guess we'll shelve that Art of War thing to see if Anthony comes in later.
I almost don't want to give it attention either.
I kind of want to give it a little bit of attention because I want to remind people that just because you want a Fire Warrior to write the Tau buffs for your slate doesn't mean that you should do it. Just saying.
Okay, so here's a question. What are you expecting to change in the meta from the data set changes?
People are going to shift from light to twilight. Like, that's the obvious shift. I mean, I think a bunch of people are going to learn that Twilight's not super easy to play and is more punishing of mistakes than Light was. Like, in Light, you had a couple of options to parlay out of your mistakes. I think people are going to move away from 24 warriors or more in armies because it just doesn't work as effectively anymore. So you'll see people shifting to either Kraken or more Leviathan monsters with like 1 unit of warriors because you can successfully buff 1 unit of warriors into still being durable. I mean, warriors, despite being T5, are still just 3 wound, 4 up save. No feel, no
T5
pain.
feels real sus in a game where like there's so much +1 to wound and auto wound on 2s and stuff out there. It's really sketchy. That's the specific thing I'm most scared of. I wanted to like from having a think about it. That Gene Stealer Cult matchup is already not great. If more people are starting to pick up on like the Eric style Gene Stealer Cult lists, which is way better to Twilight than Light, by the way, when it just gets to hit you even easier. You're gonna have
I don't think anybody plans for the Gene Stealer Cult matchup though, because there are like 5 Gene Stealer Cult players on the regular.
Yeah, but you probably should. Gets real sketch for turn. It's besides mechanics wins you on 2s now.
That's fair.
That's not something I want to play. Yeah, no, I definitely think people will. I'm playing Kraken this weekend. I'm definitely going to experiment with it. I'll go back to Leviathan if I don't like it for Coventry because I just will. I have experience with playing Leviathan. I didn't feel like I needed another weekend to practice. I think people will still play Light. I really don't think that you have to shift away from it. The boat speed is still insanely high. Just getting to move those things 22 inches and still shoot them allows you to deliver a lot of shuriken fire, and shuriken fire is not bad for as much as that army is not like one of the best shooting online in the game. It still has enough shooting to deliver very, very
100%.
potent damage to you if you don't respect it.
Yeah, I think you'll just see a shuffling. You're not going to see Tyranids drop out of the number 1 for overall win rate. While Leviathan is easier to pilot, I think, than Kraken, so you'll probably see a dip. I don't think Harlequins and Tyranids are going to drop like precipitously, although next weekend we also see, Or this weekend
Full
we see the
Votan.
pre-order. We see the full Votan lineup go up for pre-order, and then the week after you'll see that all come out. And I'm guessing that you will see just a mountain of Votan stuff coming into the win rates after that.
So, what do we think about Necron's post data slate then?
I don't think anything changes for Necron's post data slate. Like, sure, the Silent King no longer gets his rerolls, but you're still playing the same game. You're still playing a 4 secondary and a couple data sheets stapled together into some mishmash version of an army. 2 data sheets, 4 secondaries, and a trench coat forms the Necron Codex. It doesn't change just because core gets taken off of a couple things.
Yeah, I think it weakens their secondary game in a lot of ways because Code of Combat was very, very reliable with full resource to hit on the Silent King because your shooting output was, with being able to put My Will Be Done on him and his full resource to hit, he was hitting on effectively 2 rolling ones into almost anything. You had to have 2 -1s to hit. He now drops to with a single -1 to hit, which is fairly common, whether you're playing on like WTC boards with a wood or you're playing turns with Venom Tropes or just on Harlequins. -1 to hits are not super uncommon, and that drops the Silent King's hit rate by like 30%. So him picking up just random squads, like being able to finish off the last one fairly reliably on stuff, diminishes a lot, and that makes Code of Combat weaker because he'll miss kills on stuff a lot more often now. He'll not be able to commit for full kills on 2 different squads and stuff like that anymore. And then you'll not have the command barge with full rerolls to back it up. I think that then means that you have to take Treasures Aeons a little bit more often, and Treasures can be
More
a difficult
dicey.
secondary in a couple of matchups. Like there are enough matchups where I don't love Treasures. Whether you're playing on a mission like Retrieval, where it becomes like 2 of the ones on your opponent's side of the board, or Data Scry Salvage, where it's very possible to just collapse a flank on Necrons and keep them to like a 10 on that, or even better if you can just push through them. I think it definitely hurts Necrons. Not enough to make me not think they're still one of the best armies in the game. I think Necrons are still absurd and needed more changes than this.
I mean,
But yeah,
personally,
they definitely shoot less now.
Yeah, personally, I just think Necrons just badly need a 2.0 decks. Like they're held together with duct tape and dreams. They're not.
I think they might have more rules not in the Codex than in the Codex.
Yeah, and I think the Silent King losing out on rerolls is a big deal, but you probably still can take Code of Combat depending on what you're playing into.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's not that I'm not saying it's you don't take Code of Combat on the Silent King. Right. People took it before, but it's just you can't. The Silent King is not going to reliably kill 2 or 3 squads a turn now, where he kind of used to. If you played into a lot of armies, you could almost guaranteed you're going to kill something of them in here because they're going to hit on 2s rolling. Now, if they're shooting into a wood, they're hitting on 3s. You've got a 44% chance of converting both hits. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's a lot worse than 93%.
Samuel Martin asks about the Army of Renown on the way for Necrons. I don't think the Destroyer Cult one is good enough to like really warrant a serious conversation. The advance in charge on Destroyer Cult units is good, but not good enough for that army to work.
Yeah,
if it worked on flayed ones
as well.
I think if it worked on flayed ones, it would be a lot better. Like if you could advance and charge 20 bricks of flayed ones and stuff, I think the army would be significantly better. But
I think it would also depend if we see a change to their protocols to be the same as the current Necro ones. If we see that, I would definitely look at considering that a little more. I'm pretty sure that the flayed ones still get dynasty traits in that as well, right?
They do actually. So you can still have
pre-game move obsec flayed ones, which is not quite the same. But you do get the free Vanguard. They become double obsec with the native obsec they get for being 10 or more men in that army. So I don't know. I think there's definitely still play options there.
It's just not as good as full obsec on your whole army plus the stuff that you get from the rest of it.
But if you gave that army wide +1 save from all the time from the command protocol change, if they get the updated ones, I would definitely say that it's worth revisiting. What I'm worried about is the one that's coming next month, the Cryptek one, because I could see that getting out of hand real quick.
I'm kind of curious to see what the Canoptic one will be like, because if it's just there's an opportunity, right? Like you said, for it to get out of hand. Especially if it's like all of your stuff now has quantum shielding or something like that.
Look, dude, don't even slightly say that. Oh, why would you say that?
Can you imagine though, scarabs with full transhuman quantum shielding running around being just jerks all the time?
Everything in the army gets old quantum shielding.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Everything just gets quantum
roll under
shielded.
the damage number to ignore it. Quantum shielding.
Yeah.
Just like
Every Necron player just got real
just fuck my
excited
game
though.
up, bro.
I don't know. I think the Canoptic stuff is the cooler part of Necrons personally. I actually am not as big into the Destroyer Cult stuff aesthetically speaking. So if it's cool, if it's good, that's kind of cool. I won't collect it, but it's cool.
Really, I just hope Necrons go away. I'm sick of playing them. It's so boring every time. They just I'm stood here and I'm upset.
You don't like the I have to table you by turn 3 or I lose just because of your passive point scoring a bit like armies? You don't like playing into that?
Yeah, maybe to quote Neil here. Maybe they'll finally debut my number one pick for rule that drops in 10th edition of transhuman 5s instead of transhuman 4s.
Yeah, transhuman 5s on the Reaper of Obliterax, please. Oh, that was the only thing I guess we forgot to talk about. The Reaper of Obliterax is now capped at 3 mortal wounds, which
Is that per target or total?
I think it's total, but it might be per target.
A lot of those are per target. I'm gonna go and look at that. You talk.
You go look at that. I mean, I played it in the game against the Kraken Tyranids list that I played against, and it didn't really matter because he still scooped 90% of the stuff he engaged with. Like, he engaged with the Swarm Lord and picked up the Swarm Lord. He engaged with Death Leaper, picked up Death Leaper, just kind of roundly picked up whatever he decided he didn't want to deal with on a regular basis. So I'm not. It slows him down as like a horde clearing mechanism. I mean, when I played him against Harlequins, he killed 10 out of 12 Harlequins when he fought on death, but that's okay. I mean, he doesn't need to be able to horde clear and kill single target characters incredibly well at the same time.
Whether it's so normally these are like worded in a specific way that it says if it's total for the ability or total per target. This just says the target suffers 1 more wound in addition to any other damage to a maximum of 3 more wounds. So that target can only suffer 3 more wounds, which means if you split the attacks with the Reaper, I believe you get more also on both targets. So that's what we'll do. I'll just split attacks with my Reaper more often, and that will never backfire.
Never. Definitely won't ever backfire to split
Never
mortals
backfire.
onto multiple targets. Oh,
Yeah,
I've been told that CRS and ELO have been updated, so I'm going to pull that up too because we can.
I don't want to know. Actually, I've
too.
not played a GT in ages, so my Elo is not going to change. That just means I'm going down because people keep overtaking me now.
Well, we're going to do it anyways.
We're going to do it live.
We're going to do it live. I'm going to open it live. It's going to load on my internet.
A dramatic reading of how much is in his feeding.
Oh, no.
Oh, cool. I'm still in 12.
Never mind. It's not updated yet, is what I've been told.
Sake, Curie. You can't tell us it's updated and then not update it. This is slow play.
Wait. Oh, it has to sync. So we're going to wait a couple minutes and then we'll come back to it, I guess. I don't know. I think there's a good thing to talk about is what we kind of wanted from the slate, actually.
More.
And what we hoped. Like, what changes did you really want to see in the slate that we didn't get in the slate? I mean, I know we wanted more, but what did you want to see in this? Ennis is getting ready. This is great.
Balance.
I hate you so much right now. just gonna let you know. I hate you very much. That was a lot of prep to make me very excited to then fuck it all away.
Right. I wanted a fair few things that didn't happen. Necrons, secondary changes. Oh, actually, let's start with my preamble. I think GW came into this with the presumption that they were not going to change points and they were not going to change secondaries. I think those were as close to hard rules as they had available to them. And I have a thesis on why that's why the Space Marine changes suck shit, which I'll get to. So, with those parameters in mind, whether you can't change secondaries and you can't change points, I think you really struggle with this balance data slate because almost all the changes the game needs right now are to those two things. Space Marines have had every durability buff and almost every damage buff you can basically envision across the course of 8th edition, between 8th edition and Shock Assault, Armor Attempt, gaining a wound, gaining an attack, gaining a point of AP on other weapons from Doctrines. Obviously, that one went too far the other way, and they've brought that back a little bit to now it has to progress. They've basically added everything in the kitchen sink to Space Marines now. I was struggling to come up with like another rule you can add to Space Marines that doesn't just become, oh my god, they have like another conditional stat on top of that. Space Marine's problem is their stuff is too expensive, and that's kind of it. Like their secondaries are probably a little weak, and you could buff those up, but they just need more stuff because their stuff is so bleh. Their troops are terrible. Their elite units don't hit as hard as any other elite unit because they're so under specialized. You get things like Eradicators are 55 points of 55 points of model, I want to say. I can get 2 Tier 1 Warriors for that. I'm going to take 2 Tier 1 Warriors, man. Really sorry. Tier 1 Warriors shoot better, fight better, tank better. I don't get what too much of Marine stuff just doesn't do anything. And I think you can't just slap another rule on them. They have so many rules already. You needed to just make them cheaper. But they said, we're not doing that. And I think that's why we saw the change they did. So the Space Marine change was Shock Tactics now gives up an extra VP because they were like, well, we don't want to do points changes and we don't want to do sector changes, but we can't. There's nothing we can change in the rules that will fix Space Marines right now without being drastically under play tested, I would say, because you would have to make like a big change, I think, for Space Marines now. I don't know. I can't think of anything that's like a single change that would make Space Marines playable without pushing the stuff that's already close to playable, like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, those kind of lists, without also just sweepingly making them absurd.
Yeah,
I think they just went with, we're just not doing anything. I think they kind of wrote themselves into a hole with the criteria they gave themselves, or what I think the criteria they gave themselves for this data set was.
Yeah, I think if you ignored the specialized units like Deathwing Terminators and stuff like that, and Sanguinary Guard, and gave generic stuff a points drop, like that would have been good. Like Intercessors, an Intercessor is like 20 points.
Yeah, 20 points.
And there's like no reason that an Intercessor should be 20 points. Like Intercessors are not worth like there's no way that an Intercessor is worth 20 points. Maybe 15 points actually for an Intercessor. An Intercessor is probably worth 15.
Is a big drop.
I mean,
reverting the force moving through doctrines is one thing you could do. I would really, really heavily encourage you to consider what that does to the game in terms of what becomes powerful off of that. Because all that's saying is, here's go and spam heavy weapons as Space Marines. And I don't necessarily think that's healthy. We have a turbo.
Your V8s
Holy fuck, thank God.
Your V8s were like crawling up the walls looking for you the whole time.
Anyway, we'll come back to talking about the balanced data slate with Anthony. We're going to go talk about the Art of War tier list now. Not tier list, balanced data slate.
We're hard turn while I go.
Hard swerving.
I'm going to hard swerve to pull this up. I guess, Anthony, why don't you tell us about your weekend while I pull back up the data slate as proposed by Art of War?
Hi, Anthony. How are you? This is episode 16, balanced data slate. That balanced data hate. How was your week, buddy?
It was pretty good, man. What did I do this week? Things. Went to a wedding. It was my girlfriend's birthday. Shout out to my girlfriend. What else did I do? Oh, fuck knows, man. Oh, I played 2 practice games. I played Emperor's Children into Yanari and into Bothway. It was good. Those Yanari troops that everyone gets real hyped about are kind of shit when they fail the +1 to wound spell.
Yeah. Everybody's very intrigued by your hair being cut. That's apparently the other thing you did this weekend.
One person's in hair. That is
just one. That's all it takes.
We shouldn't let Nathan interact with chat. Every time he does that, it goes badly.
I'm not allowed to interact with chat. That's fine.
You're banned. You need to stop.
Oh, fine. Fine. I'll just read this different thing.
No. Why December, buddy?
What? We were talking about
why December?
What's December?
Oh, come on.
Because that's what it is. I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's what we picked.
Did
Everybody
you know
I
that this
mentioned
is
it to is like, oh, you're going to December or New Jersey?
Did you know
Yeah,
that this
it's
is
gonna be
Innis's
cold. It'll be okay.
first time out of Europe?
Probably.
Innis's first time
Really?
out of Europe is going to be New Jersey.
It's going to be New York City. I'm definitely going to take him to New York City. He's
Okay,
going to come
thanks.
in on the Thursday, and we'll take him to New York City. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank God. You're not just going to make him stay in New Jersey for 4
We're going to
days.
Hoboken. I only know like 2 places.
Yeah, you're just gonna. Do you even know what that means?
No.
No.
I think I heard it on Futurama. Like
Yeah.
that's all I got. All I'm remembering is that one episode of Futurama where like we're technically in New Jersey and they just leave the apartment because they refuse to buy it. That's all I
Jesus.
got for New Jersey. We're technically
That
in
is-
New Jersey.
Yeah,
This is
that's
unlivable.
about it. Yeah, I'm gonna
We can
do my
explain it.
best to make it a reasonably decent experience.
I'm sure. I'm very much looking forward to it and confused it's happening, but that's fine. Anthony, what were
Yeah,
your thoughts on the
assembly.
regular balance data slate before we ruin your life by talking about the Art of War one?
Oh god. The regular one I think was fine. Like I don't think it needed to do too much of the game. I wish they would have just like flat banned Tau, but we can't always get what we want.
Oh, I didn't even get around.
There's
to thinking
definitely
about Tau.
some things.
Fuck.
Yeah, there are some things that I wish they would have changed. It's really difficult for me to have my head on accurately after 2 days straight of watching Tau get their ass kicked by Votan. So I'm scared.
One
I'm
of those
scared of
times
what's to
was-
come, and I don't feel like the things that are need to be nerfed.
Apparently, Brian just beat Curie, so
We talked about it. A small deployment change in the game is unwinnable for the Tau. So
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not how that works.
also, if
I
the
mean,
Tau
one
goes
of the-
second, also unwinnable. So
One of those games was really funny because I watched one of the Tau and Votan games, and I think that was one of the funniest conclusions to a game I had ever seen go to turn 2 in my life. Just 2 turns.
yeah,
Yeah,
2 turns,
Votan
top
are
player table
gonna
flips.
be a problem, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that painfully coloring my hindsight, I think the data slate's fine. Maybe not that much stuff needed to get nerfed. Maybe it's okay.
Maybe we needed to leave everything
I don't
buffed
know.
as a precaution against Votan.
Yeah, maybe we fucked up. Maybe we went the wrong way. Give Levy the transhuman back, restore a light, remove the flyer cap because Votan don't have them. I don't know, man. I'm not happy.
I don't know.
Not doing good.
I also do think that
Votan are
GW
amazing.
had heard probably regularly that the meta was pretty like okay right now. So they really wanted to lightly tap it instead of
Yeah,
like giving
light.
it big taps. Although at the same time, I was still disappointed they didn't give taps in the 2 directions that it kind of needed to get tapped, like enough.
Were you happy with the Space Marine buffs, Anthony?
It was great for Blood Angels. It gives you an alternative to Relentless in some matchups.
Don't lie to yourself.
I'm not gonna do it, but like other people that don't take Relentless every game
I bet
might be
Sam's really
interested.
excited about his only army getting a little bit better.
Yeah, he probably is legitimately hyped about that.
Not as happy as you would have been by like troops being playable, but you know, we're not worried about that.
Whatever.
All right. Well, let's talk about
See,
the
what
data
Chris
slate
failed to
from-
notice was that if Marine players were just better, there wouldn't have as many problems.
That is true. Marine players are notable for being fucking terrible at Warhammer.
It's true.
And do you know what you can do? The
Chaos,
best thing you can do as a Marine
Imperial.
player to improve your win rate? Just stop playing them, bro. Just stop. It's fine.
Anyway,
Like, you don't have to play that faction, man. You're free. I release you from your sins.
All right.
They have to.
Let's talk about some proposed changes. I've already seen ones in chat. One person said that they wanted to play this data slate, so we're just talking specifically and directly to them, apparently. Also, we like a large portion of our streams is just going to be reacting to Art of War content when we think it's funny or bizarre.
Or we'll wind up Anthony.
Some
We
of
actually
these
were almost talking about this earlier, but I said we had to wait until you were here.
it has stopped me. We had to just
I should've just
we
not
tabled
came.
it into we wouldn't have talked about it.
Should have
We actually probably would have
off.
We said every time they asked where you were, we were going to add 30 seconds to how long it was before we let you on the show. So,
they
Yeah.
stopped asking real quick.
but
Which
like the
means
first
they
like
like
8
you.
messages in the
They
chat
like
were like,
me.
"Where's Anthony? Where's Anthony? Where's Anthony?" Like the
Yeah, it would hurt my feelings if I didn't already know that they liked me more.
it's like it was like the seagulls
That's
in
true,
Finding
they
Nemo,
for
just
sure do.
asking where instead of mine.
Yeah,
Alright.
for real. We do know for a fact
game-wide
that they like
fixes.
Nathan more than me, though.
Which is funny because I think Anthony is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. Just putting it out there,
I
folks.
do my best, man. I don't know.
Here are the game-wide fixes that Art of War proposed in their video today.
Fixes to
Number
factions that
one.
need buffs.
Well, not yet. We'll get to those in a minute. Yes. Flyers have to start in reserves, and the first relic and warlord trade are free. Which actually reasonable changes. I think both
Amazing.
of those are fine.
I'm
Yeah,
okay
those are
with both
great
of those.
changes.
Awesome.
We're starting off at a
Fuck
high
yeah.
note.
Starting off strong.
We're starting off good. Space Marines and Grey Knights changes have been squished together in this list. Probably not in the video. For Space Marines, they can choose Dev or Tactical Doctrine on turn 2. So you could do 2 turns of Dev, 2 turns of Tactical, and then transition to Assault if you wanted to.
Okay.
That gets my Iron Hands really going. I don't think that's a good sign, but
the next one doesn't make as much sense to me, but I think it just means you get extra CP, like either +2 or +3 CP.
yeah, they
depending on
basically
if you are
said
patrol
your
or
battalion is 0 CP and you still get the 3 CP refund, or your patrol is 2 CP and you still get the 2 CP refund. So you're basically paid a CP for running a troop for running a coverage troop. I'd probably make it only apply to battalion brigade, not also patrol, just because patrols are so cheap. But
I would agree with that. A battalion or brigade is probably where you want that refund to actually sit. And then for Grey Knights
specific, they got the FAQ.
Yeah. For Grey Knights, they added a bullet point to the Aegis, which is you add +1 to psychic tests you taken for this unit when they're casting blessings. So not when they cast offensive spells, but only blessings.
I just give them +1 to cast. That's not fucking around with it.
Yeah, I feel like you should just give them blanket +1 to cast instead of that. I also think that the battalion or brigade change just feeds CP to the army, which I don't think actually fixes Marines' problems, but like lets them do more cool shit.
You could actually run Volcons and not feel awful about it, which I guess would be nice.
I guess you can do that. That's
also,
true.
Grey Knights go pretty hard when you give them a bunch of CP.
Yeah, GK getting +1 to cast on blessings and 3 more to CP, because GK do run 3 troops would actually probably be pretty good. I would probably
That's actually
into
true.
Like the top half of armies again. So I don't know. I'm not opposed to it.
No. Custodes is all the
Grey
infantry
Knights exist like right on the edge of armies I'm willing to play.
They're cool looking. I like those sculpts. Custodes, all infantry get objective secured back.
No.
All infantry. So that would include characters, and I don't like it.
No, not the characters. Fuck you. Fuck you, Lennon. This is your change. You can't have this.
I especially don't like it because that just means somebody's going to take like 5 Terminators and then like release the Lions on them and have 5
I see what you're doing, John. You can't have it.
And then returning Esteemed Amalgam, Martial Discretion. Yeah, so then it's returning Esteemed Amalgam, Martial Discretion, and Emperor's Auspice to being used as many times as you want per game.
What? No.
Esteemed Amalgam.
Fuck that.
I feel like our war don't realize why Custodes were broken.
Like it's just like Custodes aren't bad right now.
No,
they just won an event.
Custodes are fine. People are such fucking edgelords.
Like, I think you could probably do one of these changes, but not both of them. And the one that would be more okay than the other.
And you could give the elites OBSEC. I'd be okay with that and nothing else.
Oh, I guess Chris G does make a good point. You can just buy single Terminators to give them OBSEC in that situation.
Does that change? Does Unleashed Lions change their starting size?
It means you have to kill all of them.
I like that Ben guy. He's quite cool. You should listen to his podcast if you haven't already.
Yes, you should definitely listen to Benny's
He's got a great
podcast
one.
if you haven't.
Mute Alex's voice track though. That's
Well, no, you can listen to just Ben if you want. He's got one.
What are they called now?
Frontiers, right?
Frontiers, yeah. Frontiers. You should listen to Frontiers.
Yeah.
They're cool. Except Alex. Fuck you, Alex. What's
we're not
next?
even going to talk about his pros. AdMech. We're going to add Anthony.
I love Innocent's battle with Alex.
For AdMech, it's the only change that they proposed was adding core to Cataphren destroyers. There's some secondary changes at the end of this list that we'll talk about, but add core to Cataphren destroyers apparently, not breachers, but just destroyers.
That feels like a mistake. You should give both of them if you're going to give them. If you're going to give it to them, like, and then there was like some secondary changes for them as well.
We do have some secondary changes at the end. Okay, for Chaos Space Marines, this is where we start to get into an interesting space. Abaddon the Despoiler only gains Agents of Chaos if there is a Heretic Astartes detachment besides Supreme Command / Auxiliary in the army.
It's fine.
He's an Agents of Chaos for Space Marines, yeah.
Yep.
That would also include Thousand Suns and Death Guard because they also have Heretic Astartes keyword. So.
Pact of Flesh heals core and Demonkin units D3 wounds, but not characters. So no more healing characters D3 wounds.
Look, man, if you're playing Black Legion, you get to heal Abaddon. I'm okay with that. Like,
yeah, I actually don't think that's that big of a deal.
No,
this is where we start to get into some weird stuff. Mostly this one, I think, is just like somebody decided they didn't want to change something completely, so they like proposed a halfway change. Creations of Bile, Fight on Death is changed from automatic to a 3-up. When just have it be a 4-up if you want to have them still fight on death.
Just gonna tilt people.
I honestly think you just make it on a 4-up like every other fight on death mechanic that triggers that way. Like Zerx shouldn't have it automatically either. Zerx should have it trigger on a 4-up if it's going to trigger at all.
Yeah, I'm broadly fine with it.
I just think the 3-up is like,
I mean, just
you don't want to say that it's too good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It happens less, but it'll still tilt the big Jesus out of you when it does.
This is a type of
it's going to happen.
I would maybe make it like 4-up with characters do it on a 2-up.
Sure.
Just like something like that. Just make it a little less reliable. Let the characters be cool.
Blastmaster's range is reduced by 12 inches, so this would take them from 48 to 36 inches on their big shots. And
that's my idea.
36 to 24. That's actually a good idea.
I'd actually just drop them from the game because they don't have models anymore. Because
that was your contribution.
That was a wise contribution. Easy. Relax.
Look, yes, Space Marines shouldn't have good shooting. Those guns should be one shot.
I like how below average Bob proposes a 3-up being too much, but a 4-up re-rolling being correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where a 4-up re-rolling is 75% and a 3-up is 67%.
Nathan, I know you can't help yourself. Remember how I said you shouldn't interact with chat?
It is
controlling.
Abaddon's
below average of math as well. Okay, it's fine.
Abaddon's cost goes up to 350 points, which I think is appropriate.
Yep, fine, whatever.
It's a bit high, but
it's like whatever.
Shut up.
It's fine.
Chaos Demons have 2 changes. The first one is that Flamers of Tzeentch go up to 32 points a model.
What an awkward points cost.
Can't
I know. You just make it 30 and be human?
I think 30 is the appropriate points cost where it doesn't punish demons too much.
I'd put them up to 35 and then drop like everything else that's got 3 wounds by like 10 points as well. Just make them make them playable in only demons and terrible outside of it.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, listen to the pale Scottish guy. He's saying good things right now. Ignore him 5 minutes ago.
And then Emperors, Children, and World Eaters. I also would assume that this is going to go with Death Guard and other stuff. Is you can only give Agents of Chaos to God-aligned demons. I assume that they mean that
they basically mean Emperor's Children can't take Flamers and World Eaters.
You can only take demons from your god. So if you're Tzeentch you can go into Thousand Suns. If you're Nurgle, you can go into Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Slanesh, so on and so forth.
Yeah, so like the way that the rules are written, but they didn't actually cover all their bases.
Yes. Tighten up the rules.
That's close.
Yeah, very close, but no cigar. Similar to the data slate itself, but we already talked about that earlier. Death Guard add to disgustingly resilient that they get a 5-up to ignore mortals in the psychic phase, which I think is
I
reasonable.
was like all over that like day one of the codex. I was like, they really still needed like moral protection from. So yeah, I'm fully happy with that.
It shouldn't just be the psychic phase.
Yeah, I would be okay with it just generally as well.
Probably be okay generally.
Yeah, you shouldn't just get clowned by spore mines for free as Death Guard because you can't get away
Yeah, you
from
should.
them.
I think that's funny.
No.
Harlequins changes. Star Weavers and Void Weavers are -1 to be hit and shooting only.
I get rid of the no rerolls in shooting and make the no reroll shooting only. Leave the -1 to hit. Personally,
Yeah,
like,
I think
you're
that
firing mirage launchers. How is that helping you when they're stood on top of you? Like they're just
I-
reaching out, buddy. Like they can hit you.
And then Harlequin troops costs go up. I think that's just 1 point per model from 13 to 14.
They should be
points per
They should be
model.
like 16 points a model, but
It's just 1 point,
They definitely should.
which I think is fine.
yeah, they should. Those things are insane.
I think so. Like, what I want to say about the changes before we get to like the end of this is that most of the changes are actually sensible.
Oh, there was a NIDS change in there as well that we skipped.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna get there in a
Oh,
second.
okay, cool. I was really
So they have the please write the Leviathan rules in the data slate balance patch as they should be in real life, which is that Synapse monsters get full transhuman, all other models get 1 to 2, get mini. And then the bigger change though is that flying hive tyrants do not benefit from Tyrant Guard bodyguard effects. Which honestly, I think
wish
just
upon you
makes-
incontinence.
Which actually I think just makes people not take flying hive tyrants
Yeah,
very often, like at all.
Cool. So
like
this
people
day
just
sheet's now
stop taking them.
garbage? Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like flying hive tyrants are such big models from a silhouette standpoint. I don't think people
Just-
understand how freaking
Just make
huge they
overrun 2
are.
fucking CP. I
You
don't get why
cowards.
it's not gone up.
Make it once per game.
Yep, make it once per
Once per
game.
game.
Yeah, once
2
per game per
CP.
unit, whatever. Once per game wholesale. Don't care. Just overrun is the entire problem with that model.
The ability
Yep.
to be the most dangerous
I
yo-yo
would, dude, you
master
could put
is
the
problem.
Tyrant back to its old cost and under Reaper if you made overrun once per game. Like, I don't care. Just
I think
one
that's
time
true.
use.
It gets to do its thing twice, maybe 3 times if you're lucky.
Gene Stealer Colts got
Yeah.
probably a change proposed in this that would make me want to play them so much because it's so funny.
It would probably break the codex in half.
It would.
Like
it
3
would
ways
make-
from
I don't
Sunday,
think it
but-
It would make.
I think it would. But
I think it
Go
would make
for the
some of the
actual change.
melee elements in the Gene Stealer Colts
Tell us the
codex
change.
too good. The first one is that all core infantry get +1 attack on the turn they arrive from reserves or disembark from a transport.
that
That's
I'm
a
on board
lot.
with. That I'm okay with that. Like, you still got to hit charges. I get it.
The problem is the second half of the next one, which I think is that aberrants and pure strains get core. You can't have pure strains getting core in this situation if they get +1 attack coming out of transports or reserves. That
Don't-
is
You can already
way
get
too
that.
good.
You can't have aberrants coming back with Ico wards, man. That's too much. That is those.
Why? They
for
suck
context-
so bad right now.
Yeah, but if you make them core and come back, they're not going to suck. That's the point I'm making. Like,
they'll be very good.
But if they
So-
don't suck, that's good.
right, but that becomes a toughness 5, -1 damage, probably 5 up feel no pain, 3 wound model for 30 points that regenerates in the command phase. Like, you're gonna.
I don't give a fuck.
I think it's too.
Let
I
him
think
come
it's too
back.
much, man. I think it's too much, man.
If
I
they
think
hadn't
it'd be
even
really
considered
good.
icon wards, it would be good.
Yeah, I would definitely play 30 pure strains and 30 aberrants stood around an icon
What
ward
if you
going,
exclude
you have a
them
5
from
of
the
vulnerable
icon ward?
save. Well, then, yeah, but the icon ward is a fucked data sheet, is basically the point I'm making. It turns out getting
That's what
TJ
I'm
models
saying,
back
though.
in
What if
every
you
squad
exclude
within
them from the
6.
icon
Yeah.
ward?
Yeah, I think you'd have to.
You would.
That's why you can't give Rich
Right.
Runner's core as well, by the way, in case anybody's asking. Uh,
All right. I'm gonna skip. I don't want to. I want to. Oh, fine. We're gonna do the Tau changes because they're the ones that make me the most mad. Because I feel like somebody has forgotten why broadsides lost the core keyword. Broadsides and ghost keels gain the core keyword. Strike and fade is once per game, which is actually a good nerf, but I don't think it addresses the totality of the problem. All drones points costs get reverted, so they
I don't know if that's a buff or a nerf. I don't know what their points costs were.
They were less expensive before, so they had points increases.
Okay, they can. No, piss yourself. Like, no.
And then both stealth suits and pathfinders gain objective secured, which I also think is a problem.
I think that's fine. Like, it's good, but I don't think stealth suits or pathfinders are breaking anything. Like, if you nerfed everything else, I think I'm okay with you giving them that.
I don't actually care if broadsides got core back. Broadsides are like real fucking slow.
They're not. You taking Monka with broadsides is very powerful. I think it incentivizes taking Monka again, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing.
It's fine. Yeah,
I know you're killing planes along with this as well, but I would, if you make drones work with lookouts are normally, I'm on board with a few of these changes. Because drones and lookouts are a real rabbit hole of rules that I don't love.
Yes, I think there were that needs to be changed.
Strike and fade for some reason. I don't understand what meta the Art of Warhouse is living in, where they needed buffs.
It's interesting when you look at the stats, especially.
I always think they should have just made Shadow Sun not apply to broadsides, and then they would have been fine. Mm-hmm. Like, just she can't pick broadsides when she does her full rolls, and they would have been fine even broadsides as they were. But
one of the things that I think is important to note is, like, currently since the Demon's Codex release is that Tau in the hands of people who go to events regularly are at a 65% win rate. That's 1% behind experienced hands with Harlequins, but Tau are closing events. And one of the things I wanted to bring up earlier when I was asking all of you to name the top 5 factions from like a performance standpoint is that Tau are 5th. Like, they're the 5th best faction from closing out on events. They've won the 5th.
And they're doing it with less players than Nids and Necrons and Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. So I would be very cautious with buffs to this faction.
That Vic guy's smart. Y'all should listen to him.
Yeah, that Vic Vijay guy with his podcast that you should also listen to because it's one of my favorites. Just saying. You should listen to 40K Fireside.
Same.
Or Fireside 40K. I can't remember where the 40K is on that one. It's either at the beginning or the end. It's real good, though.
It's 40K Fireside.
Thank you. It's one of the 2 podcasts I listen to, and that's it. There's just 2, and that is one of them.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the Tau stuff until we get to some of the secondary changes that are proposed at the end of this, because we're
not doing secondary changes. I just don't care.
All right, we're just going to do Orcs. We'll do Necrons and Sisters of Battle because those are just secondary changes for Necrons and Sisters of Battle. Orcs are core units, can advance and charge on the second turn of the WA. So basically, they keep both halves of WA across both turns. Perfectly fine change.
Very good.
For Space Marines, the other buff that they added is that Oath of Moment scores 2 points for cores or characters wholly within 6 inches of the center. For Necrons, the changes were that Purge. Yeah, just unnerf it. It's fine. Purge the Vermin is table quarters only and doesn't count the deployment zone. So essentially, it just turns into Herd the Prey. You just don't get a bonus point for your deployment zone. And then Treasure of Aeons changes to 1, 2, 3 points and is Battlefield Supremacy.
Where it belongs.
And then for Sisters of Battle, because these are the only changes that they see in this proposed slate, is that Defend the Shrine is scored 3 points at the end of your command phase, starting on turn 2 and at the end of the game. And then Sacred Ground can only be done by once per turn.
Cool.
Seems fun.
They also did some stuff to add mech secondaries for Uncharted.
Nobody understands what those mean. You can move
on. They also, I think, buffed the Tau secondaries in this, which I think is like just adding more stuff. And then they nerf a Harlequin secondary. Well, they nerf Deadly Performance to be, you get 2 points for completing 2 things, or 3 if you do 3. That's it. Those are the proposed changes. I think the only mistake here is that they put in Tau buffs and like 2 nerfs when you just didn't need the buffs. You just needed to nerf the couple of things that were really rough. And the nerf to Strike and Fade like makes sense, but I've also seen more Riptides which don't care about Strike and Fade. They just run away. They can jump, shoot, jump without a stratagem.
Yeah, man, it's real funny how low people were on Riptides, and now they're just like every list is running 2 of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Tau players, man, such whinges.
Yep.
I will say that watching Votan and Tau though has made me kind of intrigued by the fact that they didn't receive nerfs, because that matchup is bad, like real rough for Tau.
I don't.
The only shooting army doesn't beat the army that shoots it.
Anthony, go ahead.
And also melee isn't as tankier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like. I want to say that like those are the only parts of this slate that I like really have like take umbrage with, is like the Tau buffs that are in it, and the rest of it I think is like mostly common sense stuff that other people have talked about previously.
I mostly just wanted to complain about the Tau buffs. That was the only real reason I wanted to bring it up.
This is true. Otherwise, I think 90% of this is fine. I think there's some funny things that are like halvesies on making changes, like making Fight on Death a 3-up instead of a 4-up like it is on everything else. And the 7 points increase to give Flamers such an awkward points cost is also just a funny change.
32. Come on, man.
32 guys.
Just up their power level like 4 as well. So just honestly, really awkward to take.
I agree with what you, Innes, and Anthony were talking about. Like, you probably just give a 10% cut to demon troops that nobody wants to take in soup, and then just make them 35 points.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Right. Let's blitz through like 10 minutes of show questions so I can go to bed.
Yes.
Should Marines be a single book like Chaos Mysteries rather than a book with 11 supplements? Yeah, obviously.
I
think leave Death Watch as their own supplement. Like Death Watch could probably still just be their own codex.
No,
they're really weird. Together. They don't kind of work with the regular framework, and everything else could just be in fucking Space Marines. What's your thoughts on Space Marine successors build? Just play Wolfen. They seem pretty good. That's all I got.
They seem good.
Just go see what
Wolfen plus
Fight Last is good. Wolfen are pretty good.
Go see what Jaime has been playing. Oh, I guess we should do plugs. Innes, can you do plugs real quick?
I can do plugs. Hi, everybody. This is Stat Check. You've been listening to us for an hour and 20 minutes, which means you probably enjoy us at least a little bit. So you could maybe listen to more of us. Would that be something that interests you? You could check out us at YouTube. That's a place. If you search Stat Check, we show up. There's more episodes there. There's also bonus content there. I hear that's quite good, and you should listen to it. This Friday, we should be dropping Into the Matrix with Germany for everybody. So if that's something that interests you, is hearing from the German Captain Lim, we recommend you check that out. Otherwise, if you would like to support us even more, you can check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, where you can chuck us a couple of dollars a month and get access to our Patreon Discord and all of that bonus content a little bit earlier, as well as some stuff that we don't put out for everybody. We really appreciate all the help. We crossed 100 subscribers a couple of weeks ago, and we are 100 patrons a couple of weeks ago, and we're really happy about that. So thank you, everybody, for that. Otherwise, drop a comment recommend us to a friend, whatever helps. Every little helps, and we really appreciate everybody who does that.
The other thing you can do is if you join our Discord, you can also join fun stuff like TTS leagues and stuff like that we run. So we're running
bullying me apparently.
Yep. We're for bullying Innes with one TTS league. We're going to be running a 40k TTS league where all of us from Stat Check are playing, including Cliff and Kiri will all be playing.
I don't think
something.
Cliff doesn't TTS.
I'm going to glare at Cliff a lot in chat later. We'll fix that. We're also going to do something eventually for passing the 100 Patreon mark, which will be exclusive to Patreon members. We'll figure it out and get that scheduled as well. You can, get quite a bit of things for your Patreon subscription, we promise.
How do I feel about the Stat Check Discord forcing me to fly to the US for an event? Overwhelmed is probably the single. Overwhelmed and confused. Now that Flamers no longer work at Emperor's Children, what are you running at Coventry next week, Anthony? And why is it 13 cans of dragon soup proxied as War Dogs?
It's actually just Night Lords.
That is correct. Oh my god, people speak so much garbage.
I just like the size. The size are what makes me. Yeah, this is what excites me about our podcast is listening to Innes dramatically sigh as he tries to get through all of our garbage.
Here's a
Where is best to sleep in Coventry?
here's a softball.
Innes.
The answer to this one is Innes's bed.
No, you're not, Robbo. You can't have it. Do Guard need a melee unit similar to Rustalkers that can actually do something, or is that what Rough Rider is supposed to be? I don't know. We've not seen the Codex yet. How
That's
could we
what-
possibly
God,
have
that's
an
what-
answer to
Fuck
this?
Guard.
You guys all missed Anthony being real excited about that tank, though. He saw the Rogaldorn tank and got real excited and jazzed about it.
Relax. It was cool,
Anthony's
but
a
fuck
trend.
Guard.
Yeah, the best place to sleep in Coventry is
Ugh.
Airbnb or not at all.
And it probably is just Rough
Like,
Riders to
There-
answer
there's
that
8 of
question
us.
in a
We could
serious
round that up to
fashion.
like 14. It'll be fine. Do you think Games Workshop should have an open beta for new 40k rules as the current closed playtesting is leaking more than a colander?
They probably could just have a beta
No,
program.
probably not. I don't think they would get useful feedback from an open beta.
That's fair, actually.
Like, I don't know if you all remember the Beta Sisters Codex. That codex just went in the bin. They didn't do anything with it. Like, it wasn't like it got redone. Anthony is lagging. He'll be back. What list are you looking forward to playing over the next while now since the data slate dropped? I don't know. Votan?
I'm playing Guard from now until January, probably with some Quins mixed in.
Yeah, I think until January. Whenever you happens, I'm playing a real faction, but until then, I'm playing Guard.
Well, I'm going to play Guard in January too if they're a good faction.
Fuck's sake. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much is
World
your anxiety
Eaters!
waiting for the data slate gone away since getting what you could technically call a data slate? Not at all. I hate 40k. We all know this. Do you think Tyranids and Harlequins will pivot and stay on top, or do you think something else like CSM will Soup will take over from them? I think they share the podium now with Tau and EC and Votan. And those are the top 5 now.
I think Votan will probably be the number 1. Tyranids and Harlequins will pivot and still be in the top 5 or 6 in the case of Harlequins.
What are you planning on? What are your plans for adding Guard to your GSC army? I'm going to stick the heads on them if they're good enough to run. I doubt it, but maybe. And what's everyone's favorite sub faction for fluff reasons?
Emperor's Children.
I actually just didn't hear the question. I was distracted by somebody
your favorite
talking
sub-
shit.
You need to stop reading chat. What's your favorite sub faction for fluff reasons?
The Hive Fleet that is target against Psychers that the other Hive Fleets feed so that it can continue to fight demons and shit. That's the one I like most. That I think is kind of neat.
Kronos.
Yeah, that's one. Thank
That
you.
one's Kronos.
For me, absolutely 110% Behemoth. My Nids are paid as Behemoth. I like Behemoth.
Fair.
Right, quickly run through the chat comments. What are your
There's
proposed
one-
changes to the next mission pack conceptually and map wise? Okay, so the bait answer he's looking for here is remove Dawn of War, which he's probably right, but I think they should bring back Dawn of War, but like the weird
100%.
pointy Dawn of War they used to have was called Frontline Assault, just so that it's even harder to measure. The one where there's like an 18-inch separation if you're like stood at the tip of the deck.
Don't do that.
It's like Dawn of War, but there's only 6 inches of deployment zone in the corners as well, instead of 12.
I just would like more missions and more variety in them.
Just go back to 6x4s.
Kind of boring.
Let's go back to
I
6x4
think-
so I could actually have a deployment zone to hide in.
Just I don't know. Missions are such
No.
a hard thing. I just want more missions than what they give us, and I would
like less diagonal
more variety.
deployments in the next pack. I would like it to be like it should probably be like 3 Hammer and Anvil, 2 Dawn of War, and 4 and 2 and like 2 of each of the diagonals, like 2 diagonal and 2 quarters. But
Actually, I lied. Bring back Night Fight as a mission.
look, man, weapons ranges capped at 24 turn or capped at 18 turn 1, 24 turn 2.
Night Fighting. Bring it back.
I don't know, man. I don't like the current mission pack very much. Bring back Maelstrom cards.
They still exist.
No.
People forget that Tempest of War exists.
What Votan units are the biggest problem?
No, shush.
Berserkers and land fortresses are two of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
The Forge Fire is a problem. The Psyker is a problem.
I'm sorry, Vic
Terminator
says Votan won't be
is a
anywhere near the top.
problem.
Is his second take. So he
Can't
gets he's
be
one.
right
He
on.
gets one for
stay in
two.
his deployment zone gamer. Yeah.
That is also true. Get seize the initiative with the CP reroll back. Bring back Maelstrom War. Bring back Searchlights. Please don't bring back 6x4s. Have laser cut tabletops. Every mission should be recover the relics.
Isn't there one where you have to take like
No.
you have to take and escort like a single like
Bring back that
infantry
one
unit or
mission. So there
something?
was this one mission in 8th edition where there was a central objective in the midboard, and it was the only objective, and it was a 6-inch aura of null zone.
I love it. Whoever has the bomb last wins, basically.
Yeah, we should bring back the Relic, which was a mission where there was one central objective and you could pick it up and move it. And if you had it at the end of the game, you got 5 victory points, and that was the only win condition.
I love it. Let's do that. Bring that back.
And then we should bring back the Emperor's Will, which is the other mission, which was each player gets to place one objective anywhere in the deployment zone more than 6 on a table edge. 4 points if you hold yours at the end of the game. 4 points if you hold your opponent's. That's all there is. Good luck.
It feels like priority targets, but with fewer steps.
Yeah, no, your objective goes 6 and 6. You play capture the flag. It's great. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. Thank you. I think we should probably wrap it up.
We should stop. Talk us out, Inez. Talk us out.
I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this slightly shorter episode as we waited for Anthony, and then he did the injustice of not even showing up anyway. We will be back with you next week. I am doing a GG this weekend. Are you guys doing anything?
Right here.
I know,
No,
but you weren't for a while.
I'm just going to be painting guard and then posting it in Discord to make Anthony suffer.
Why does this make me suffer? I'm happy when you guys get armies that you like. I just think they're fucking lame army for losers. I don't have anything fun to say besides that. No, I'm not really doing anything crazy this weekend. I'm getting ready to go to fucking England on like next Tuesday.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I won't be on next week.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Stat Check. I have been Innes. This has been Balance Data Hate. We will be back next week with myself and Nathan for another fun-filled episode of No Anthony. We'll just talk about Noir. We won't talk about our war next week because Anthony won't be here to point us up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
Thanks.
Apparently, our outro music on the podcast isn't great. We're going to work on that. I've been informed we have outro music, and now I want to make it better. So we'll hopefully get that out next week. Last thing is the meta report will be getting drafted this weekend, which means that it will be out again at the start of next month. So we should be looking at something like the 2nd or 3rd of November for the meta report for October. We'll be going through the doing our stat check tier list again, because that's a thing we're going to do once a month now. If you forgot about that, go and check out last month's. I'm quite happy with it. Yeah, so that should be coming out in the next week or so. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Cool. Remember, fuck guard, Votan's OP, people that say otherwise are bad.